Someone just said, "I'll write notes." Thank you. Alrighty, we're at 3:03, so I think we are safe to start. I am going to disable the chat function now. So welcome everybody to our webinar that is dedicated to the updated functionality in the vendor dashboard that I'm sure you're all familiar with. I mean the dashboard. I've got a few of my colleagues with me here today. Oh, and my name is Oli. I'm from the Clutch's marketing team. I've got one of our great product managers, Elena, who's going to take you through the technical part of the vendor dashboard updates. And then I've got Ethan and Shamika here from the sponsorship team who are going to take a deeper dive into how now the sponsorship purchases could be executed through the dashboard. And they will also talk a little bit more about the exclusive sponsorship deal that all of you guys are going to get after the webinar. Two more admin things. As I mentioned earlier, this webinar is getting recorded and everybody is going to get a recording the next day. So obviously, please feel free to check your inbox for that. Last but not least, questions. There is the Q&A functionality on Zoom. Please feel free to submit your questions as we go, as the panelists are presenting. Once they're done with their part of the presentation, they will take the questions, trying to answer all of them. If there are still some questions left after the panelist is done, we'll answer them by email. So don't worry. If your question didn't get answered, you'll get a follow-up email with the answer. With that said, I am going to start sharing my screen and introduce the agenda to you guys, which I pretty much just covered. Okay. Yes, basically, Elena is going to jump in and give you the overview of the new functionality on your vendor dashboard. Then she will take your questions. After that, we'll switch it over to Ethan and Shamika, who are going to take us through the sponsorship part. And at the end, we'll have the offer rollout. With that said, I am going to turn over to Elena.
Awesome. Thanks, Ilya. Hi, everyone. Also just going to share my screen really quickly. But as just mentioned, I am Elena, and I am one of the product managers here at Clutch. And I'm the person who kind of worked on the new vendor dashboard and the one who's kind of been sending the emails about this webinar. So if you have any questions, please feel free to throw them in chat as we walk through this. So if not all of you, probably most of you have logged into your Clutch profile and then have managed to get to the vendor dashboard. So the first thing you do when you log into Clutch, you go to me and you'll see vendor dashboard. And that is, we'll just take us there really quickly, and that will take us to your vendor dashboard. So that is mine. It's a test one. I'm going to go back to the one we're going to use, and it will take you to your profile. So you will see your name, when it was last updated, your website, email, and then your service lines and portfolio items. This here, we just wanted to break down a little bit more cleanly of how many service lines and portfolio items you're seeing in your Clutch profile, because you can always go in and update your profile information right here, but this just kind of breaks it down a little bit easier and shows you what you are displaying. So your Clutch profile will be right here. If you click on the name or you click on the logo, this takes you to the front end of what potential buyers see from your profile. So that's really the overview of your profile. And then we have added in this review section. The biggest change in our review section is beforehand, you always submitted references and you always had your reviews. That's kind of, the cornerstone of Clutch. But we used to, once you submitted a reference and then they left a review, we took that reference away and you no longer could see it. And it was, we just heard a lot of feedback. It was kind of difficult to keep track of what happened to your references. So now we'll never take those away, and all of your references will still be in your vendor dashboard and the statuses will be updated. So this way, if you want to either see just reviews, see just references, or see everything, you can do that. And then the status tells you where in the pipeline it is. Have they been contacted? Is the review published? And the score. You can see everything. And we have brought in all that information from the past 3 years. So if, unfortunately, you maybe had a reference that's a few years older than that, we didn't pull that in, but moving forward, they will always be there. If you want to add a new reference, same as always, you can add a reference here and I'll just take you through that workflow. And we, encourage adding a reference if you want a Clutch representative to reach out and then conduct that review for you. If you would find it easier to share the online review form with your clients, the online review form is right here as well. Make sure each of you has individualized code. So make sure you just get that whole link when you're passing it along, because we want to make sure your clients are leaving the review for the right company. And then lastly, we've added in this stats section. This should look fairly similar because we did have a stats section beforehand, but this just gives you a quick overview of the past 30 days. So how many views you've seen in the past 30 days, that's profile views. And then how many click-throughs you've seen to your website in the past 30 days, here it's 7. And then just a little bit more information, top click-through sources. And then the company profile, and then the directories it's from. So now we're going to go into performance. That's really the overview. And in performance is where we've added some of our biggest changes. To navigate to performance, you can either click See Advanced Metrics, or you can click Performance up here. Either way, it'll take you to the same tab. So now we are in the Performance tab. And this takes all the information we just kind of overviewed in profile and breaks it down a bit more. So this is really exciting because for the first time ever, you're able to see what pages you fall on both Clutch and the manifest. The first thing I want to say is we know that the manifest, click-through, and profile views are not yet there. That doesn't mean you're not getting them. It just means we're not pulling them in quite yet. That's our next thing we're going to add in, like #1 priority. So those will be there very soon, but this is not zero. You are seeing click-throughs and profile views. They're just not currently being reflected here, but your position on the manifest is showing it is accurate. So then just high level, again, you're seeing your click-throughs in the past 30 days. This company, which is just an example company we're using, is 7. And then how many profile views you've seen. And then also we have that contact form on each of your company cards and company profiles. So then we're also going to pull in the contact form number of how many contact forms have been sent to you in the past 30 days. And then we come down here to our performance by page. So this tells you the pages you're on, the amount of click-throughs you've gotten. So click-throughs, again, to your company website, amount of profile views you've seen, and then your position on that page. And this is where hopefully we've really made it easier for you guys to see where you fall on Clutch and all the pages you fall on, and taking away that initial confusion of how do I know where I'm falling? How do I know what is best to optimize? And really putting that information in front of you to make the best decision for you and your company. So then if you were a sponsor, you would see current sponsorship here, and it would say the level of sponsorship. Are you bronze? Are you gold? And it would say how much it is costing a month to maintain that current sponsorship. And then here in options, we've also then shown you, okay, I want to be a sponsor. I want to take advantage of top custom software development companies. You click options. And since I'm not a sponsor, it always shows my next highest one up. So what is the quickest and easiest upgrade for me? If I did a starter profile, I would be estimated position 46. This is always an estimated position because other companies can also buy a sponsorship at the same time. It's active and it's dynamic. So that can affect ranking, and reviews and other aspects of your profile also play in a factor. So if you get another great 5-star review and there's a few bronzes on that page, you could bump up above some other bronze or above some other gold. So these positions are dynamic. So that's just a good thing to keep in mind. So you can really see, okay, options. 15 for a starter, or say I wanted to be #1, I could go up to gold and see that as well. Whenever you click into a sponsor level, it's going to open up this checkout form, which should be the exact same checkout form you see on Clutch's sponsorship page. So none of the checkout process and none of the process truly has changed at all to become a sponsor. We're just giving you the opportunity to see everything rather than having to go back and forth. I want to iterate, our team is always here to answer questions. If there is confusion, please feel free to reach out. That's not going away at all. It's just if you don't need that advice or you want to just own the whole process yourself, it's now in front of everyone's hands. And then if you go further down, we say show estimate. You can always click show estimate and it will load and it will show you all your options as well. So you can do this for all the manifest pages and all the Clutch pages, as many as you qualify for. And as a reminder, if you want to change how you qualify for pages on Clutch or the manifest, you can go in and update your profile, and that will always change and affect the pages you fall on. Okay, awesome. And then if you do want to see the page itself, you can just click here and it will take you out to the Clutch directory page. And then the third tab we most recently added in was widgets as well. So with widgets, the biggest feedback we heard here was that we didn't have enough options and customers really wanted to be able to make the widgets match their branding, match their website, and we didn't give that flexibility. So what we did is we added a few different widget types. The first is a review us on Clutch. So say you don't even want to show your reviews, but instead you want to gather those reviews, you can implement that feedback widget, which is really a call to action to potential to your clients from the past, and then to work to get new projects moving forward. We have our original widgets as well as new options. You can scroll through all of these and you should see that we are pulling in your reviews. So it would show you exactly how they will display. Carousel option. And then down at the bottom is where you can customize your review widget colors to make them match your company's branding. All of the code and instructions should be on this page, but if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out and read the FAQ page here, which should really give you all the information you need. And the last thing I want to just point out overall on your profile is if you need help, we have this contact us. If you are a sponsor, you do have a direct point of contact, which will update there. So then if you are having questions or concerns while going through this, you always can reach out to us and we're happy to help answer any questions. So I quickly want to make sure I answer all the questions. So when we'll be able to see click-throughs from the manifest, yep, we're working to add that in as soon as possible. We will follow up when that is live because we know you'll all want to see that. So then is the pricing monthly or annual? I'm going to leave a lot of these sponsorship questions in particular to our sponsorship representatives on the call just because they will be able to better answer those questions. I'm seeing a lot of great suggestions. So we will also take all of these and then follow up individually if I don't hit all of them. But I love the suggestions for other ways to continue to improve. We are also working to add in other features to this vendor dashboard. So we kind of call this like, this is our first big rollout and excited to do more. Just the last thing I'm going to point out is the reason you might sometimes see discrepancies between your own Google Analytics and the Clutch data is because we do filter out bots and we do filter out all of the Clutch staff as well. So we have the settings set so we make sure what we're showing you, what we're returning is potential clients and leads and the most accurate data we can provide, which is why you might see some of those discrepancies, but nothing to be too concerned about because that is done intentionally. So we are making sure we're providing you accurate data. And then I see someone saying they're seeing a bunch of references from a few years ago. Yep, we're actually working on that right now. So we're going to make sure if the references are old and we know that review is already completed, we are going to push those to the bottom of your profile. And then we're going to list all references and reviews by date. So the most recent are going to be first. But I believe that's everything from me. And again, if I didn't answer anything, I can get to it at the end and we'll also follow up after this. And then I'll pass it back over to Olga and team.
Great. Thank you, Elena, very much. Olga, if you could go to the next slide. Again, Elena, thank you very much for showing us some of that great new functionality of the vendor dashboard. Shamika and I are now going to transition to how the vendor dashboard can be utilized to optimize your sponsorships with Clutch. So if you go to the next slide, discussing a little bit more about understanding your performance. So we encourage all companies, whether current sponsors or not, to monitor their vendor dashboard's performance to track their click-throughs, profile views, and position on each page. So as a sponsor, this view should give you a little bit more insight into your website traffic and profile traffic for each sponsored source, and will allow you to monitor your position on each sponsored page. So for example, the current sponsor on this slide can monitor their website development sponsorship and see that they have about 150 website click-throughs per month, and also keep an eye on their position. So really, we encourage all companies to monitor their positions and make adjustments or upgrades if desired. You can see on the options tab that you can make an upgrade if need be. And you have to go to the next slide. You can also see that, you've seen Elena go through the presentation and see a lot of different types of directory pages. So now that you can see for yourself every directory page that lists your company, you may be wondering how to position yourself on different pages. So by showcasing the services that your company offers, you're pulled into our directory pages related to those services. So for example, if you added a content marketing service line to your profile, you'll be added to our content marketing directories, both organically and via sponsorship. For example, in this slide, the services listed are going to feature this company in our mobile, web development, and software development directories. Different pages have different requirements, but to optimize your positions, we generally recommend a minimum of 10% per service line and no more than 6 total services. You'll also be able to, if you go to the next slide, you'll also be able to add your focus areas related to your broader services. So for software developers, this could mean adding a .NET sub-focus. And for social media marketing companies, this could mean adding a Facebook or an Instagram focus as well. This will include your company in more niche pages, increasing the likelihood that someone will find you on Clutch. And now we're going to toss over to Shamika to provide more guidance on our sponsorship opportunities as a whole.
Awesome. So thanks, Ethan. And again, my name is Shamika, and I'm happy to provide you all a quick overview of sponsorship on the next slide. Cool. So as a reminder, our main goal is to help guide any organization find and hire the best fit service provider. So in essence, we're helping business to business companies build their online visibility and get more exposure to potential buyers. So as a result, over the last 30 days, Clutch has seen over 750,000 unique visitors, which is awesome. And if you're not familiar with our sister brands, The Manifest or Visual Objects, those sites are also part of the Clutch family and feature your company in a different format. So the Manifest now sees over 230,000 unique monthly visitors, and Visual Objects is newer, but also is becoming more visible to buyers. Next slide. Awesome. So if you've ever thought about how your profile could get in front of more potential buyers, a great option would be our sponsorship option. So as you can see here in the top right square, every page is automatically sorted by sponsored, which is why sponsored companies show up first. So you can purchase sponsorship on individual pages directly in your vendor dashboard now. And purchasing at least one sponsored listing will also grant you verification eligibility, which improves your visibility on every page, and access to our lead matching program featuring Clutch vetted leads, and also access to our PPC advertising data, which is also now live. Next slide. Cool. So since some of you may be less familiar, our sponsorships are based on a tiered auction model, which means that companies that have a higher sponsorship tier will show above companies that have a lower one. So in this example, the silver sponsor is showing above the bronze and the starter sponsors. Okay, so now let's say that we have two companies on the same tier and on the same page. Then the placement will then be determined by the Clutch rank, which is a combination of your reviews and your other ranking factors. All right, so next slide. Awesome. So great news. You guys now have the same information the sponsorship team has directly in your vendor dashboard. So for each page, you can now see your current positions and even what positions you guys are projected to receive if you decide to upgrade sponsorship levels. So in this example, this company's second largest current click-through source is top ad agencies, if you could see that on the second row. And looking to the right of that in the red square, the company can now see that the starter would currently move them up to 17th on that page, and a bronze would put them 12th, and so on. Okay, so there are many factors that you guys can look at to determine whether a directory page is a good fit for your company to sponsor. You can look at click-throughs and profile views received, as well as your current position and the competition on those pages. But if you guys have questions or need any additional guidance, our team is more than happy to help, and you guys can reach out to us at sponsorship@clutch.co. Next slide, Olya. Awesome. So hopefully that quick walkthrough was helpful, and now we could talk about the next steps. Since you guys now know the in and outs of your dashboard, we encourage everyone on this webinar to further explore the dashboard yourselves and the options available for your company. You can now purchase a sponsorship on those pages whenever you like without having to communicate with our team, which is also very exciting for those of you that have the time difference. And again, if you do need guidance, feel free to reach out to us. We're always happy to help. Next slide. All right, cool. So as a thank you for all of your time, all registrants will receive an exclusive sponsorship offer that will be sent this afternoon. So just be sure you're checking your inbox. But if you don't see an email from us, please don't hesitate to reach out. With this offer, there are a few things that I wanted to highlight. So purchases must be made in the vendor dashboard, and payment will need to be received by Friday, May 21st to be qualified. Also, you won't immediately see the offer reflected in the vendor dashboard itself, but we will send you a confirmation of your reward after you purchase. Next slide. All right, and with that being said, we'd like to turn it back to the audience for any questions. That's all we'll cover for now, but please continue to submit your questions and we'll follow up individually with anyone whose question was not answered.
Sure. Thank you very much, Mika. Great overview. And I'm seeing some of the most common questions in the chat are related to expected traffic volume for various pages. So right now we are working to provide you more data directly in your dashboard on that point in terms of how much traffic each page receives. But in the interim, you can email sponsorship@clutch.co to consult with our team on what the best options are for your placements. So we can definitely provide you some more information on total traffic numbers and also kind of give our insights into which pages might be a great ROI. Going through some of the other questions, a couple other questions about what exactly the sponsorship offer is. We definitely just encourage you to check your inbox for the offer. We have a few different groups here on the webinar, so we kind of customize the offers to maximize the value you're receiving, whether you're kind of newer to Clutch or a long-term sponsor. Couple other, I'm just kind of sifting through the questions to see what are the most common here. We have a question, how does upgrading your sponsorship work if you did it directly on the dashboard? So if you are upgrading the existing placement, you can purchase at the new level at the full rate through the dashboard. And we would extend a credit for any unused sponsorship. Let's say if your sponsorship is set to renew at a later date throughout the month. Natalia asked, do I need to give credit card data to pay for the sponsorship? Or is there an option of having an invoice later? So we do take payment upfront for sponsorships. It is through our own it is through a platform we partner with, Stripe. And again, that link, Elena showed that link earlier, but it can be accessed through the vendor dashboard. Olya, feel free to cut me off as we continue on with time, but I'm just kind of sifting through the questions here. If we could go back to the slides, just the link to the dash, or if we could put the link to the dash in the chat, just the link to the dashboard so everyone can check it out on their own. I think that would also be great. A couple questions about ranking in multiple countries or in certain locations. That is largely based on your profile as well. So our team does curate this information, but you can see on the vendor dashboard, you'll likely have some local options, and that is through the profile and through your office locations. So that should, you should see some local options on the vendor dashboard as well.
Elena, would you mind putting the link to the dashboard into the chat? I just enabled it.
I got a question: at what level do sponsorships show up on the performance page? So any page that you're sponsoring would have yourself marked as a current sponsor on the vendor dashboard. So it will be very easy for you to tell on the vendor dashboard which pages you're currently sponsoring and which pages you're not currently sponsoring. Elena, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it would be sorted in descending order from your highest level sponsorship to your lowest level sponsorship, correct?
Yep, it sorts by highest to lowest. And then if you aren't a sponsor or you have multiple sponsors in the same level, it goes from highest click-throughs to lowest. So we ordered it that way in an attempt to put what we think is the most valuable pages for you first, and just get those in front of you. You see, you know, do I want to better optimize this page or not? But you can go through every page you do fall on. Just to reiterate Ethan's point, every page you fall on is drawn from your profile. So if you're not happy or want to make changes, it's all through making changes to your profile. So we really recommend doing that first and curating your profile and making sure you're as happy as possible with it. And it represents all the service lines, focus areas, industry sizes, employee sizes that you work with, just to optimize the amount of pages you fall on.
Great. A couple other questions. If I'm a current sponsor, will I still be will I still have access to the webinar offer? Yes, you will have access to the webinar offer, and we should have that in your inboxes shortly.
I think there is another question that was actually popped into the chat. When do you expect manifest data to be visible? Elena, do we know that?
Yep, so we're working on it now, really as soon as possible. So as soon as I know, you guys will know. We'll probably send out email as well, informing everyone, but just encourage to keep an eye on your vendor dashboard, because that is probably the fastest way you will see it, is just by checking, and they will be there. But we'll also keep everyone informed.
Ethan, one of the questions that I saw was about our pay-per-click program. I don't know if you want to touch upon that now. Or do you want to just follow up through email?
Yeah, I could largely follow up with a broader explanation via email. But yeah, we're really excited. We expanded our offerings to include pay-per-click a couple months ago. It's currently available to all companies that are sponsors on the site. And I'll definitely send along some screenshots of what the PPC offerings look like, as well as some of the keywords that are available to you. Basically, you'll be able to pick the keyword and set your own budget and CPC.
I think there are a couple of questions about the length of the sponsorship and being able to view that.
Yeah, absolutely. The sponsorships at the bronze level and above are all renewing on a monthly basis. So if you purchase today on May 13th, you'll be set to renew on June 13th. The exception is the starter sponsorship, which renews on a quarterly basis. So if you make the purchase on May 13th, your next renewal date will be on August 13th. If you're a current sponsor, but you don't know when your sponsorship renews, we will follow up with you directly and send more information on your invoice renewal date. That's kind of done through our accounting software.
Alrighty, I think we went through the most recurring questions. Oh, thank you. Somebody just chatted. Great job, guys. Thank you. Always appreciate the feedback. As I said at the very beginning, we will be sending out this recording as well as following up on the questions that were not answered right now. You'll get follow-ups through emails. I think we're good to go. Oh, we also wanted to quickly Remind everyone that Clutch Clutch also has a certification program that is created for minority-owned businesses. So if you happen to be a minority-owned business, either racial minority, women-owned, LGBTQ-owned, veteran or disabled-owned, please reach out to certification@clutch.co for more information. Happy to have you guys certified, as well as to have you on our podcast that is dedicated to those companies. Thank you again for your time today, and please always feel free to follow up with us through email.